together and turn away. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here you are very welcome. I'm Jane and my husband Mike does everything behind the camera. We're British early retirees, we've got no debt, we've paid off the mortgage, and we live a thrifty, frugal and money-saving life in Brittany in northwest France. And every Wednesday we invite you in for a mid-week money chat. And this week's mid-week money chat relates to lots of different ways and things that we do to save money. And when we've shared them with you, the kind of negative feedback, criticisms and complaints that we occasionally get. Now, I thought I'd start off by saying what happens when I get something that I feel is a criticism, or I feel is negative, or I feel is just an empty, pointless comment where somebody's just got to sort of say something about something, is that I click a button on my back stage of YouTube that you can't see, and it says hide user from the channel, and that is all I do. So you can comment away all you like, but I will never see your comment again. So you are hidden from the channel. So that's what I do. But I am going to address some points that are raised today because I think it's an interesting topic of conversation. Because I think this is something that is said to lots of people, not just people who like me, who shares our lives on social media, but people with any kind of public persona in any way that people think it's okay. If you do anything publicly, whether you are a shop assistant, a teacher, you're in care work, you're in hospitality, that people think that because you are out there and visible, that people are able to say whatever they like about you. And so I'm going to say it today for all of us who have any kind of customer facing, public facing job, and the kind of things that people say to us or about us. Some of us is relevant to all of that, and lots of it has something to do with the money saving community. So I think this video today has got a lot of traction. I think it's quite interesting, and it's interesting for me as well to share with you thoughts and feelings of the kind of stuff that's not just said in general social media, but the sort of stuff that's said to women as well. So let's get going with this. The first one is all to do with appearances. If I make a video and it might be titled sort of like things I don't do anymore or things I don't buy anymore, and I'll make comments like and say things like I don't buy makeup anymore, or I don't have my hair done anymore, or I don't buy many clothes anymore, those kind of comments. I get some kind of barbed comments of, well, I'm not as brave as you because, you know, I like to look nice. I like to be feminine. It's like, okay, kind of get what you're saying there. But I thought I'd sort of tell you a little story about me. And if I go back to being a very young woman and being a teenager and a young woman, I always had that kind of confidence about myself to the point of almost just not caring, really, of not caring. I grew up knowing I looked all right. I always had kind of confidence about myself. I always had body confidence about myself. I was never a young woman who worried about wearing, oh, I'm in a t-shirt, my arms aren't good enough. Didn't care. Oh, I'm in a shorts and my legs aren't good enough. Didn't care. I just genuinely didn't care. I grew up by the coast. I grew up in a swimsuit. I grew up in shorts. I spent most of my, teenage years, it was very normal not to wear any shoes at all and just be barefoot, just have my hair down, never wear any makeup, and just have that kind of confidence that I was all right. And I've carried that with me all of my life. I've had periods of time where I've had customer facing jobs where the other women around me have dressed in a certain way and the other women around me have worn makeup. And to fit in with them more than what I felt, but to fit in with them, then yes, I've worn makeup or, I've had my hair coloured and such like. But it wasn't for me. It was really to fit in. And, now I'm 60 this year. I care even less. So I've had a whole period in my life where I didn't care about the clothes that I wore or the colour of my hair or whether I was wearing makeup or not, or whether I fitted into what was perceived as feminine or not. And I'm going to put this out to the world. There are people walking around at the moment with a full set of cock and balls who are more feminine than you or I, ladies, are ever going to be. And what we look like is absolutely relevant only to us. If we, if any of us, decide to not spend money on makeup, or not spend money on having our hair coloured, or not spend money on frocks or high heels or fashion because it's just not our thing, it's not important. And if you are the person walking around with full, male genitalia, who is absolutely at your happiest, completely looking feminine, fair play to you. Go for it. Because it doesn't matter to me what I look like. Like I've said, from those early days, I was completely confident about what I look like. And I'm looking at myself now, thinking to myself, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. I don't need makeup. I don't need to colour my hair. I don't know what it is about women not colouring their hair that sets some people off, but it sets some of you off. And I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. So when it comes to frugality, I'm happy with having a small wardrobe of clothes that I wear frequently, that I'm comfortable with, that I really, really like. And I'm comfortable with not wearing makeup anymore. And I'm really comfortable with not colouring my hair. So you don't like my appearance, I tell you what, just listen to me. And then you don't have to look at me. How about that? Solved your problems for you. All right, let's go on to the next topic that kind of brings in almost every time a comment, a negative comment, some kind of complaint, some kind of sarky comment, or something like that. And that is whenever we do shopping hauls. And it's usually a name I've not seen before, somebody I've not heard of, and it's words to the effect of this. Comments about the fact that we don't shop in little local boulangeries or markets. The fact that some of our food comes in plastic wrappers. The fact that every single piece of food that I eat doesn't come from a very small local area. And so the shopping hauls can set a few people off. And I hear you. I can hear you're saying to yourself, I think you should shop in markets. I think you should only buy from local small suppliers. I think you should never buy food in plastic wrappers, and so on and so forth. So kind of what I'm hearing from you. And I just suddenly thought, I'm going to say this to you. We live on less than French minimum wage. We are early retirees. We've chosen the kind of the sort of the economy of which we're happy, and we have to do the best we can with that. And I think we do the best we can with that. In the main, when I go shopping, even if I'm buying meat in Lidl, I can look at the abattoir number on that packet of meat and tell you most of it has come from Department 29 or Department 22, which is geographically a reasonably small area. I can tell you by the boxes in the supermarket when I go into Lidl, for example, it's got Prince de Bretagne on it. So it is a wholesaler based in the sort of the Roscoff area, which is in Department 29, which is like being in the county that I'm in. And I can tell you as well, if I'm in Lidl, or I am in Leclerc, or I am in a local supermarket, most of the stuff there is from Brittany. Now, doesn't mean to say that some of my food doesn't come from further afield in France. And it doesn't mean to say that some of my food doesn't come from places like Spain and even Portugal. But if you are an American and all your food came from America, I think you'd be happy with that. If you were Australian and all your food came from Australia, you'd be happy with that. And if you were Canadian and all your food that you bought came from Canada, I think you'd be happy with that. And geographically, I am happy if all of my food comes from the European Union. I'm not that fussed that it comes from just a local artisan supplier. And there are reasons why I don't shop in local markets. They're a pain in the ass. They really are a pain. I do not want to schlep everything round in bags. You know, I don't live in a little house on the prairie. I'm not a trad wife. I'm not into this nonsense of making my life hard for myself. I think it's perfectly okay to go and shop in the supermarket. It's okay economically to shop in the supermarket. I don't want to have to walk things around the market and then carry them back to the car, which is some 15 minutes walk away, and then come back again and get the rest of it. I don't want all the hanging around that happens at markets of people who are there to, they go for the social side of it. They like the ambience of it, and it's a pleasant experience. It doesn't mean to say I never shop in local markets. Yeah, I do sometimes shop in local markets, maybe once a month, but it's not regular. Like I said, it's a pain in the neck. Don't want to do it. I do want to get in and out of the supermarkets. The other thing I like about shopping in the supermarket is I can peruse the offers before I go. I can check the apps. I can get the deals. And I'm really, really happy to do that. I've just spied Mrs. Duck and ducklings going down the little river next to me where I'm sat. So that was quite a nice interruption. They are very, very cute. Back to you. So no, all those criticisms. And the other one about, you know, some of my food comes wrapped in plastic. And I think it's really unnecessary if you're going to have any criticisms about the way that supermarkets do business, to take it out on a small individual who's got a small budget and just trying to do the best they can with it. If I never ever shopped in a supermarket ever again, I personally would have no impact whatsoever on whether the supermarkets, one, existed, or two, had products in there wrapped in plastic. None. So having a go at one person about, oh, some of your food is wrapped in plastic, there's a lot of plastic. Go and have a go at the supermarket. Don't come to me. Take your complaints to the supermarket. I'm an easy target, aren't I? An easy target. So go and take it out in the supermarkets. I know that for our budget that we do all right. We're not perfect. I think we do okay. So there we go. That's another part of complaints that I get, is whenever I show the shopping hauls, there's always somebody who's got something to say about it. What a sunny day. I could just sit here and sunbathe. I will put in an end shot of what I'm looking at in a minute. It's my old barn in the back of my garden. It is just such a beautiful day. Ducks in the river, birds are singing. My neighbour, who I think is the all Metropolitan France lawn mowing champion, is as per usual lawn mowing, and he has a beautiful garden that he's mowing away. Anyway, I digress. Let's get on to the next one. The next one that sets people off, and there's always some kind of barbed comment, and I'll give you examples of that, is whenever we show the meals of the week, the food that we eat. And they're kind of, I don't know where people are coming from sometimes. Usually, excuse me, I've got a bit of runny nose, there's a hell of a lot of pollen. Usually along the lines of, oh, you eat a lot, I couldn't eat that much. And then things like, do you worry about your weight eating that much? Other comments, do you think you should care a bit more about nutrition? Is it okay for you to be eating all of those carbohydrates? You know, that kind of stuff. Meals of the week. The latest one I had was, do you even care about nutrition? Now, I thought I'd put this out there. All of our meals are home cooked. We very rarely eat any processed food. We rarely eat any snacks. We don't consume much sugar. We eat fresh fruit and vegetables. We eat fresh meat and fish and eggs and cheese and butter and milk and a whole balanced diet. We don't eat out very often. We don't eat takeouts. We don't eat fast food. We very seldom drink alcohol. We mainly drink water. We'd have a cup of coffee in the morning. The rest of the day, we pretty much drink water. Mid-afternoon, I might have a cup of tea. But in the main, I think with our meals of the week, when we show them to you, we've got a balance of things. I do get comments about, I think people have got a viewpoint of French food. I don't know what they think I should be eating. Kind of very old-fashioned traditional French recipes maybe. I don't know what they think I should be eating, but we do eat French food. We live in France. We do cook French meals. We live here. And I also make lasagna. I also make pizza. I also make meat pies. We also sometimes just have a fried egg and chips, fries, and some baked beans. We have a mixed diet. We eat 2 meals a day. We don't often snack. It is the exception more than the rule that if we ever have a piece of cake or a biscuit or any crisps or anything like that, that is the exception, and it's not frequently. It's certainly not even often. But my gosh, it does get some of you going. So I think I've explained myself there. I think we do okay for our budget. Food is not as expensive here as it is in some countries in comparison. I know when I watch a food haul, for example, people go, well, that's much cheaper than Australia. That's cheaper than Canada. It's cheaper than Australia. But it's not cheap for the people here. I thought I'd put that one in. But that does get people going, is when I show people the meals of the week. There's always a comment I need to delete. There's always is. And it's usually someone's making some comment about it's not as nutritious as they would have. Sometimes, I get the comments that, I shouldn't be eating meat. I'll put this one out there. We don't eat meat all the time. And we purposely don't eat meat all the time. We can afford to eat meat all the time, but we don't. I would say 3 out of 7 of our meals of the week usually don't have meat in, or at least 2 of them don't have meat in. Because I know we don't eat meat all the time. And we do that purposely to cut back on our meat consumption. And when we do eat meat, we're eating about 150 grams at a time. So 4 to 6 ounces of meat at a time. Not a massive amount. That's the criticism we've got about it. Yeah, your food's not French. Well, I think you mean by that our recipes maybe not all French. And I'd like to say this, just thinking about the village that I live in here. 3 pizzerias here. So what's the favourite food of the people in my village? Pizzas. If there's a vending machine in France, it's a pizza vending machine. So, people here are not all eating. I've also put links below, links to our channel before of French frugal vloggers and their shopping hauls and some of their meal prepping and meal planning. And I don't see a lot of difference between theirs and mine. They're on a budget, I'm on a budget. We're not all eating expensive food. I'm all right with that. So that's another one. Really get some people going with the meals of the week. Can't please everybody all of the time. Oh, isn't this glorious? It's absolutely lovely. I've changed my view. I can see you and I can see the ducks at the same time because they are so very cute. Anyway, number 4 of things that get people's goat, that get people leaving the comments, that get people a bit wound up and get some complaining, is when we share our monthly budget videos. And I think sometimes people think we're a bit crazy, or we've done something wrong, or we should do it differently. And I'm going to sort of vaguely sum up about the things that people say and comment on. Usually they're along the lines of, if you haven't got enough money, why don't you both go back to work? And I think to myself, I think you only watched the first few minutes of the video and you didn't watch all of the budgeting video, because if you watched all of the budgeting video, you would see that we save 20% of our income into long-term savings, that we save 755 every month, 755 euros a month into our sinking funds and short-term savings, that we have plenty of money, and there's usually some discretionary spending in there as well. So I think maybe you haven't watched the whole video. And then there's the complaints of, well, why didn't you work longer to get more pension? Because we chose to leave our jobs when we chose to leave our jobs. And as you can see with our budgeting videos, actually we make the budget that we've got work. Then we get some kind of comments that you're not living on a budget, you've got plenty of money, and almost to the point of like, what are you frugal for? And we share with everybody once, and I can prove with the numbers that we live off less than French minimum wage. And because we also get the comments that, well, we haven't got a mortgage. No, but we've had one. We've paid it off. We didn't get a house in a raffle. We paid into our pensions. We didn't just, find them one day. We paid into them. So, yeah, those budgeting videos, they do set the odd one or two people off. They're the same complaints all the time. Either, how can you live off so little money? Why don't you go out to work and earn more money? Then you could do things like eat out or have nicer clothes or get your hair done. Or you've got loads of money. What are you complaining about? We're not complaining. One of the reasons that I always called my channel before Frugal Queen and now Frugal Queen in France, is that I feel that we live like royalty. And, the hot water always comes out of the tap. There's always food in the fridge, the freezer, the cupboards. There's always heating, the clothes are always clean, the house is always comfortable. We've got our own house, we own our own car, all those things. We live like royalty. We have no complaints at all. But I would say, whenever we share our budgeting videos, there's always the odd little comment here and there. And I've said it rather politely. Some of the comments are not as polite as I've explained to you today. Anyway, let's round this all up. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the time that you've spent with me in the garden today with the red campions behind me, and I will show you in a minute at the end screen of what I can see around me today. And I've sat here and watched the ducks and the ducklings go down the little stream, the little river here, and explain to you those are the things that people complain about. They don't like what I look like. They don't like what I'm wearing. Why do you wear the same clothes all the time? That's a funny one, isn't it? Because I do, because I like them. I like a t-shirt. I like t-shirt and jeans. Why don't you wear a bit of makeup, cheer your face up, Why, what's the other one? It's like, why do you go to supermarkets? Why don't you go to French markets? That other one, why don't you eat French food? Why do you eat so much? Don't you worry about your weight eating all that food? And finally, you wouldn't need to live on a budget if you'd earned more money. Yeah, so anyway, if you're a frugal, thrifty person, and you put yourself on the internet and you talk about money saving and budgeting and home cooking and shopping hauls and all of those household things, you're going to get some comments, and I do get some comments. And I want you to know this, as a kid, one of Generation X who grew up, one of those feral kids of the 70s and very free living young women in the 80s, and I'm bringing my kids up in the 90s. I'm pretty impervious to things that would worry me. I'm pretty confident and okay. I'm okay with who I am. I'm okay with what I look like. I'm okay with the size I am. I'm okay with the health that I've got. I'm all right. I'm absolutely all right. I'm living the life that I choose. And I'm speaking for Mike here as well. And I'm sure he'd agree with me. But we are living the life that we choose, and we're really happy with it. So there you go. addressing some of your comments and complaints. Thanks for watching. Nice to have you back. I've just put in a little shot at the end of it here of the pretty little river, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.